Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Educational for Life show. Thank you all for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you in here. My name is Ramiro, I'm an English mastering student, and we got an important topic to discuss, which are language acquisition and communicative language teaching. Both of these are essential areas for English educational or teachers in Ecuador. Yeah. So for that we got here Omar. Omar is an English mastering student as well. So Omar, it's an honor to have you here in this interesting topic. So Omar, can you start by sharing your perspective on the key principal language acquisition? So can you tell us what language acquisition is, please?
Hi, good morning everyone. It's a pleasure to stay here and share with you something about language acquisition. That is an interesting question, what language acquisition is. Okay, well, absolutely language acquisition is fundamentally about exposure, practice, and interaction. Research shows that learners need comprehensible input language that just above their current level. But they also need opportunities to use language in real situations. That's where communicative language teaching becomes essential, as it focuses on meaningful communication rather than just grammar or vocabulary drills. What it means is that we have to not just concentrate in learning simple grammar, but we have to look for another way to understand the grammar used in the real situation. That is very important and useful in real life that we learn, not just to write on the whiteboard or memorize the word. We have to understand and use when we have the opportunity to do it.
So you said language acquisition is fundamental about exposure, practice, and interaction, isn't it? Yeah. So you make three important points in here: exposure, practice, and interaction. So we can say that these three play important roles in language acquisition. So each contribute to how learners understand and how they use to retain the new languages. It is essential for natural language acquisition.
Yes. We have to understand that the language we learn naturally.
Yeah.
That is natural acquisition, but when it's our mother tongue. But when we learn a language, we have to search for something else. Okay? For example, talking about our country, Ecuador, okay, one of the most common challenges is large class size. That is because Ecuadorian public school, the average of students are over 40 students in each classroom. We can make it difficult to implement communicative activities, but even in a big classes, teacher can use parent group or to encourage communication. Also incorporate topics relevant to Ecuadorian culture that increase engagement and make language practice more meaningful. This is very important because when we are learning language, also we have to learn something about the culture.
Okay, so those students in our context, especially in the public schools, but it's a good idea for the teacher to make groups and work with peers. So, and also it's better idea as well to add the culture, as you said before.
Yes, very important because if we are learning a new language, also we have to learn something about the culture. Maybe the most important aspect, for example, if we are learning English, is important to know something about United States or England,
Yeah.
in order to improve our knowledge.
So, it was interesting. So let me ask you another question. So what advice would you give to the teachers who wants to interact with or integrate CLT into their lessons, but isn't sure where they start?
Okay, well, it could be a good idea to start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire curriculum beginning the simple communicative tasks like role plays or information gathered activities, where students have to exchange information to complete a task. These activities not only boost speaking skills, but also create a need to listen, understand, and respond, which are all crucial for language acquisition. What it means, for example, we have to understand that in order to learn a language, we have to start small, maybe using a strategy that improve the English acquisition. If we have many students, we have to say, for example, form a group, and you are going to work with your partner or classmate to share the ideas, try to speak or communicate.
So that's, thank you for that insight. Well, finally, what would you say is the most important things for a Ecuadorian teacher to remember about language acquisition?
Okay, well, the most important thing is that language learning takes time and consistency. Teachers should be patient with the students and focus on creating an environment where they feel comfortable to practice and make mistakes. In this way, students will feel encouraged to use English in real situations, which is ultimate goal of communication language teaching. It means that we have to motivate students to participate, to speak, to create something. Also, if we have to correct the mistake, we have to do it in a good way. Because we have to remember that in language acquisition, we have to talk about input, output, error correction, but we have to do it in a good way to motivate the students to learn this language.
There is something else about the language acquisition.
Okay, I'd like to talk about something about input.
Yeah.
You know what input is?
Yes, but if you can explain us, please.
Okay, well, input in a beginner English class, the teacher uses simple English sentences supported by visual, gesture, realia of physical objects. For example, in English to learn, for example, in input, we have to use realia. Have you ever heard that word, maybe?
No, really, I don't hear about. Can you explain us, Patrice, a little bit about realia, please?
Okay. Realia, we have to use the real objects to teach, for example, a vocabulary. Yeah? Imagine that we are going to teach vocabulary related to fruit.
Yeah.
If we have to use realia, we have to ask the students, please, for the next class, bring some fruit to teach the vocabulary. In that case, we have to use the fruit, not just write the word on the whiteboard, or maybe say, repeat the word, please, say apple. No, in this case we have to use simple sentence and show the real thing. In this case you can say, this is an apple. Oh, say, what is this? Oh, this is an apple. And the student is going to understand about the fruit. Maybe they don't know how to write, but they know how to say and communicate. Because the most important thing about language acquisition is to communicate, express, especially when you travel abroad. What we have to do first is to talk, to communicate and understand.
So that is what we call a natural approach. So that is the way the children learn, even as you said, even though they don't know about the writing, but they see the object, and when they see the object, they can identify them.
Yes, that is very important. Also, learn how to write also is important, but at the beginning we have to use realia to teach the objects, and later we can teach how to write.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, so it's for example, when I used to be living in London, for example, there approached a guy who was native speaker, in English native speaker, and he came to me and asked me for a bottle of water. First of all, we know here in America, water or agua in Spanish is water, but in English, British English is water. So even the guy came to me and asked me for a bottle of water.
Yes,
So,
well,
I didn't understand at the beginning, so.
yes. Well,
Because there is accents, so we couldn't understand at the first time.
the main goal is to learn how to say the word correctly, but we have to understand that there are many kinds of accent, even in Spanish, for example.
Even depends where you are at the moment.
Exactly. For example, if you are in England, yeah, it's a different accent, but also the English is almost the same. It has a little variation.
Yeah.
But if you learn how to say the word correctly, they are going to understand. Because remember that we have many kind of accent. And the goal in learning English is not to try to imitate the accent, is to try to communicate effectively.
That was, for example, my teacher in London. She told me about. It's not important you accent. For example, my teacher told me you have a strong accent, but the main thing is communicate. So you send the message, and another person can understand what you said. So I think Omar, that's all. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you the next time on the next episode in our podcast Education for Life. See you around. Bye bye. Thank you, Mark.
Bye bye. It was a pleasure. See you then.